Hello guys, welcome to this interesting Sencha ExtJS series. In this, we are just going to see about how to create a dynamic grid. Dynamic grid means what I'm talking about here is like load both data and metadata to the grid panel from the response. Okay, so that's what we are going to see in this session. Okay, so let us generate a project. So I'm inside my workspace ext folder. So from ext folder, I'm just going to generate a workspace first step. So generate app, your app name. So I'm just going to name it as a dynamic grid. So I want this to be stored in the workspace, so not inside the ext. So once it's generated, I already opened my workspace here from Sublime Text. So I got my workspace. I'm just using ExtJS 6, so it is generating a classic application, and as you all know, it will also have a modern along with ExtJS, right? So now ExtJS and Sencha touch both the components are combined, and it is, you can just think of it as a single framework. So it is a single code base now. You can generate both of the application in the same code base. You can just work. So once it is generated in Sencha ExtJS 6, you'll be able to see two folders. One is classic, one is modern. Modern is all about Sencha mobile application. Classic is all about the desktop and the laptop application. Okay, you can just use the same controller, but you can use two different views for each of the applications. So that's it. So we'll just start in a while. Let the project complete. So the project creation completed. The application is now ready. Now we can just go back to our project folder again. Okay, I can execute Sencha app watch. Okay, once again watch, just check. By default it would be classic, so it will, by default it's watching classic. If you want to watch modern, you can just mention modern. Okay, app watch, and you can just give the type of application, whether it is a classic or modern. You can just give after that. Okay, by default we all know, right? So Sencha would be started in the 184.1 port. So just go back to the 8.1 port. Okay, so ours is dynamic grid, so just click on it. By default it would create a default test application, right? So it is having this structure, but I don't want any of this toolbar to be adjusted according to the responsive UI. So I am just going to remove it to make the code simpler. So I'm just going to work only on classic. I'm not going to work on any modern stuff. So I'm not going to worry about it. So I have a list. I have a main file, and if you open the app in the view file, you will find the main controller and the main model. Okay, so in the main, I'm just going to remove all the unwanted lines of code from this. I'm just going to keep it simple. So I'm just going to remove all the tab bar related configuration from this. So I'm just removing all the responsive stuff, whatever does that. I'm just going to keep my controller and view model inclusion part alone. I'm just removing the remaining things. I'm also removing the list because I'm just going to keep only the grid X type, nothing more than that. So I'll just remove it. I'll just keep an empty title stuff. Okay. So this is dynamic grid, right? So this is dynamic grid. I'm just going to keep X type of grid here. Okay, and I also want a toolbar. On clicking on the toolbar, the data will be loaded to the grid. Okay, so I'm just keeping a button inside the toolbar. Okay, so I'm just going to assign a handler to it so that I can access it from I can write a definition for this in the controller. Okay, so on click data. So I'll remove all the unwanted things from controller tool. It'll just clean up. Okay. Okay. So we'll just put a debugger here just to validate. Okay, and we need a store data, right? So I just have some store data which I already have in my local. So we'll just put that. We'll just try to load it from the store, and I'll remove all the unwanted again from the data too. I'm just going to keep only one store here in my view model. I'm not going to use the personal store which is provided by default, so I'm not going to use this personal store or any of the other things. So I'm just going to specify my stores here. So how you need to specify your stores is like you have to specify stores, and you can mention your stores data. So I'm just going to mention it like some personal data, personal store test actually, yeah. And I need the list of fields. This is your model. You can specify your model here, or either you can just specify. So you can, I think there's already there in the store. I'll just copy these things alone. So you can specify your fields here in your view model. Okay. Other than this, we also need to specify the proxy related configurations, right? You just copy the proxy related configuration too. So we'll just change, instead of in memory, we need to change it to our Ajax, right? So I'll just copy this and we'll just rename the proxy type. So we are going to Ajax. We'll specify our root node in a while, and we also need to specify our URL, right? So our URL, I'm just going to put our file inside this resources, and response is my file. So I'm just going to keep both my data and metadata inside a single node. So I already have some, so I'll just try to open my project from here and to get the JSON. So just store it to the disk. Okay, it's fine. So you can just go through this. This is the root, and I have columns and I have records. So records is the one which is going to paint it to the records, and column is the one which will have the columns right on top, the heading. So it's the table header, is the table body. Okay. So now what I need to configure as in root is I need to call the data metadata dot. I'm just going to straight away put records in the store, not the columns. Okay. Okay, fine. So everything is done, I guess. So the only one more thing which is pending is we have to load the store, right? So just give auto load true so that it will be automatically loaded. So we'll just verify that everything is there any error in the command prompt. I don't think so. So we'll just refresh the screen to check whether if there are any errors we are getting. Okay, we missed one small thing. So this is not tab panel, or was this panel? Correct. Okay, fine. I'll remove this unwanted file from our classic. Okay, cool. Just refresh the application once again. Okay, this is what we want. So we have a toolbar and we have a grid with the title, but there is no data yet, right? So when clicking on load data, we already placed a debugger. Before that, just make sure that the store call happened, because we give an auto load true. So it happened. We have the data, metadata response we got. You can just check it in your preview. Data, metadata, columns, and records. So just click on the load data. Okay, fine. Okay, so now we can access the store and we can just check what is there in the store, right? So you can just give the store name here. Just verify the spelling. I'll just copy paste the name of the store. I think the spelling is wrong. That's fine. Okay, so we have a store. Just check how many records are there inside an array. Okay, we have 4 records. You can just verify that in your JSON. So we have 4 records. The 4 record scheme. But where is the column array? From where I can get it? Okay. So in order to configure both the columns and the records, which means the data and metadata to the grid panel of ExtJS, we need to call the reconfigure method of a grid panel. You can just open your docs of Sencha and you can just check for reconfigure method in your grid panel. So by default, the reconfigure method accepts 2 arguments. One is store and another one is columns. Okay, the store which we have now, and we have to take the columns array and have to pass it. Okay, let us see what it is. There is an example out there in the kitchen sink as well. You can just go through it if you need any better reference. Okay, I'll just go here. Meanwhile, we will just click on the toolbar button so that we will be in the debugger. So okay, we'll click on it. So we have a range. Okay, so we got the sink example, kitchen sink examples. In this, there is an example called reconfigure. There, if you go to the details panel and if you expand that, you can just search for reconfigure method. I can search for it. Okay, so on top of grid, you are calling the reconfigure method. It accepts 2 arguments. One is your store itself and another one is the columns array. Okay, whatever the columns array you have, just you can pass it. Okay, now we got the store. Okay, we have the store data, but from where I can get the columns? But the columns array is still there in your JSON, but still you want to get it. But you have specified only the, just remember, you had specified only the root property as records. So your column might not be there in the store, but still you can get the data. Okay, but because you made the service call, all the data came along from this to this, all the data came, but in your root property you have mentioned like data, metadata, dot records. So where is the remaining data, which is this columns and the success stuff? Where is it? Actually, this will be stored inside your proxy, inside your reader, inside your raw data actually to see. But that you have to understand a small thing from in ExtJS 6, the raw data is by default will not be available inside the store. To make it work, you have to you can just give a try to get the raw data. It will not be there, but just give a try once. So we got the store. From the store, you want to get now the proxy, right? So just try to get the proxy. Once you got the proxy, get the reader. How you can remember is like, you can just remember it in this fashion, the way it is declared. So you got the store, you got the proxy, you have to get the reader, and then only you can get the data, right? So this is the order. First get the store, after that get the proxy, after that get the reader, after that you will have the data. Okay, you got the reader. Now you should got the data. Just check, expand your this and just check it. There is no entry with the name raw data. So if you given raw data, it will return undefined. Okay. So to make it work, what I have to do is, you have to go to your view model. Inside your reader, just specify one more config, which is called as keep raw data is true. And just specify this, and if you refresh your application once, just click on the load data again. Now go to your console, just go to your back history, just check your object now. So you got the raw data which was not there earlier, right? So inside the raw data, you will find the data metadata, you will have a columns and the records array. Now you can just query your grid, and you already have the store, you already got now the columns from your raw data, and now you can apply to your grid and you can just load the grid. Sorry about it. Okay, so I hope you understood. Okay, so it is actually a two-step process. First of all, you have to create a store. After that, you have to, as the store is having root data as only the records, not the columns, you have to get the columns from your raw data. Once you got that, because both of them, data and metadata, are in the same service. If it is a different service, then that is fine. If it is in the same service, you have to create the store and you have to apply to it. So I'm just trying to use it. Okay, so columns array, and you have to pass the store to the reconfigure method. So first we will get the view. Okay, we are in a controller, right? So now that this is our controller. Okay, now try to get your view, which is your app main, right? So this is your view. Okay, so I got the view, but I need a query for my grid, right? So just go for a querying on top of your view. Okay, we have only one grid, so I'm just mentioning it as a grid. So I got the grid, which is a constructor, so I'm giving 0. Okay, now I can call reconfigure method, right? So you can call the reconfigure method. Inside that, now the first argument is the store, right? So you can just copy your store detail. After that, we need to take our raw data, right? It means we need to pass our columns array, right? So we got the reader. Inside that, we have a root data dot metadata. After that, we have a columns array, right? So this is our columns array. It is done. Sorry, what I missed? Okay, I missed raw data. Raw data. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so it's done. Now you can just check it is loaded, right? The data is loaded. Now we'll just try to put the code inside our main controller, inside our on-click loaded data function. So this is our code, right? So just copy this. So as the line has become, just splitting it up. Okay. So as I told you earlier, the only thing which we need to understand is you have to pass two arguments to your reconfigured method of grid. So one is your grid store and your columns array. As both my data and metadata in the same service, I'm just getting the records array. From records, I mentioned the root property, but my columns array is inside my raw data. So just raw data, and I'm just going inside my node data metadata and columns array. So once I got the column array, I'm just storing it inside a column array. I'm just passing it. So just now try to refresh the application. I removed all the debuggers. So click on the load data, it should be load. So now we want to add some more data. Now you can go ahead, you can just add it to your JSON file, just to get a feel of doing it for a big grid. So by default, ExtJS provides default rendering, which means it will be loaded only when the focus is going. You can just check it out. That's it. So I hope it is helpful. This is how you have to do this dynamic grid stuff. And if you want the source code, you can just go to my GitHub account, minus GitHub, and this is my GitHub account. I will upload all this code to my GitHub account. So if you want, you can just refer my GitHub account, and you can just let me know about how do you feel in my YouTube channel. Okay, thanks for watching.